quorum with everyone here, we can go ahead and get started. I'd like to call the Budget and Public Employees Committee hearing to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Odenberg. Present. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Present. Alderwoman Sanya.
Thank you. Present.
Bless you. Alderman Aldrich. Chair Spencer.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldrich. We have 4 present. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have just one item on our agenda today, and that is Board Bill 1, our city's budget. Today we'll be hearing from the Affordable Housing Commission, Excise, at Public Safety Corrections, and the NSO office, but we're going to be starting today with affordable housing. And I'll just remind everybody just to make sure to introduce yourself and speak into the microphone for those folks at home. So, Director, thank you for being here today. Your work is so important to our city, and we're grateful for the opportunity to look over your budget. And as we turn it over to you, just remember we're here to help, and we're grateful for your presentation today.
Thank you for having me, Madam Chair. I have a couple of handouts. One, the budget overview, and another has a couple of maps I can hand. You might have an addiction. Oh, fuck. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just gonna get rid of it. Like, it's gross. It's gross. I'm just gonna leave it off.
While we're getting started here, STLDB, do we have any better microphones? Some of them are just so raggedy.
Truly.
Is that something we need to put in the budget? This thing is leaking. Yeah, I mean, it's, leaking particles all over Alderwoman Sonier's desk.
Yeah.
It's quite disturbing. We'll have to make sure that we get budget for those things.
It's gross.
Gross. I'm not even. Okay, thanks. All right. Okay, we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, so what you have is the presentation and then 2 copies of maps that are just for your knowledge that show where the locations are of some of the developments. But I'll explain why I pass that out to you. And so the Affordable Housing Commission, as you may or may not be aware, is a small department, and the budget is pretty straightforward and basic. The total budget is $7,221,347 for this proposed fiscal year 24. The bulk of the funds are in the housing subsidy assistance line item. And so, that consists of $6,354,885. So I plan to focus there because that is very general, and you may or may not be familiar with what we do. So being that that's the case, I think it's important for you to understand who we are and what it is that we do with those funds, because that's where 90% of the funds for our department lies every year. And so I handed you.
Director, I'm sorry, do you mind, I'm remiss if you don't mind to just introduce yourself.
Okay, yes. April,
especially
go ahead.
For the folks at home. And
April Ford Griffin, the Executive Director of the City of St. Louis Affordable Housing Commission.
Thank you.
And so, starting with the PowerPoint, if that's okay, the city's Affordable Housing Commission was established by Ordinance 65132 and amended in Ordinance 65609 in August of 2002. The commission oversees and administers the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The trust fund was established in 2001 by a vote of the people, and the commission is governed by an 11-member board appointed by the mayor, which makes us a very unique department, if you will. While I say department, it is the commission. And because it was the housing advocates and activists that put together a wide, broad coalition of individual stakeholders that went out and gathered enough signatures so that no matter what the financial standing of the city was, there was always supposed to be a source that was generated to have funds to create affordable housing and provide housing services. And as we see, that fund has been very successful this past year, and it's in your materials as well. You're looking at over $50 million. So of that, the Affordable Housing Commission is a very small part. The ordinance says we must receive at least the first $5 million, which is the floor, not the ceiling. We believe, once again, that the work we do is very important. It's dedicated to serving individuals and families who earn 80% or below the area median income, and 40% of all the trust fund dollars are required to benefit individuals at or below 20% of the area median income or extremely low income households. And so you have an example there to show you right now, as of today, what the 20% AMI levels are. For an individual, for the year, you can earn no more than $13,608. And for a family of four, you earn no more than $19,440. And then at the height of the income guidelines is the moderate income of 80%. As an individual, you can earn no more than $53,150 a year. A family of four, $75,900. So we're talking about the primarily homeless on up to those who fit that moderate income level. With our funds, we can expand the supply of affordable housing so that families can secure permanent, safe, quality, affordable housing. We also provide educational training and job skill programs to strengthen families' financial well-being, empowering them to financially secure futures. Affordable housing programs that ease suffering and prevent homelessness by helping individuals and families remain living in their home when emergencies happen. So every year, the trust fund dollars help scores of families pay for emergency home repairs, rent, mortgages, utilities, legal representation, tenant-landlord mediations, and other housing expenses when money for housing runs short. Services also provided deal with mental health illness, recovery from chemical dependency, or help to men and women transition back into society after incarceration. The state-of-the-art homeless services and transitional housing programs to help people move from crisis to safe, permanent housing where they can become resilient, self-reliant, and productive. The commission opens a competitive funding round every year, soliciting proposals from nonprofits, faith-based organizations, housing organizations, and developers who are solving affordable housing problems in the city. The commission awards roughly $5 million annually. That all is determined by how much fund, how many funds we receive and are able to put into the housing subsidy category each year. AHC has awarded over $127 million since it was created in 2001. And so you have a chart there, bless you, at the bottom that shows that. On the average, the commission receives about 70 proposals for each funding round. Approximately 1/3 of those dollars have been invested in expanding the housing stock. So that's going to be your new or renovated housing for sale or rental. And then 2/3 of the funding generally are invested into programs and services. And so I've listed the categories there for funding that those programs that would be considered eligible. In FY 2023, AHC received 81 funding applications. That was because we had increase in funding. We were unable, however, to fund all of the high-quality proposals because, once again, we still have a limited amount of funds. So we fund as many as we can with what we have each year. The applications you have there at the bottom that show you the total grant, that's housing services request, was a little over $10 million. We were able to fund about $5.8 million, which the total cost of those programs were close to $36 million, I'll just say. The developments, we had requests for a little over $14 million. We were able to fund close to $3 million. Those costs for those projects were close to $72 million. The Affordable Housing Commission is efficient with its use of trust fund dollars. As I stated previously, close to 90% of the funds that we are budgeted, we invest into housing services, housing programs, construction and renovation of affordable housing in the city of St. Louis. Our FY 23 investment of $9 million supported $107 million worth of programs and services carried out by 44 of this city's nonprofit organizations, many of which are homeless service providers, and 6 affordable housing developers that are developing housing projects. Of that housing development investment, that was $2.3 million in the construction of 159 mixed income affordable homes. Of those 159, 153 were rental homes, 6 were for sale homes. Those trust fund dollars that assisted in those developments created a total of 299 mixed income homes for this past year. The next slide tells you, and that's on page 7, it just gives you another graph of how many units we have created and assisted. And so the trust fund has created 2,061 affordable homes in the city of St. Louis since 2003. 1,840 are rental homes and 221 are single-family homes. And then the AHC development projects, by the type of construction, you can see a breakout of 800 of them were new construction units and 1,261 were renovations. On page 8, it's giving you a breakdown and a visual of how those dollars that I stated, which was the 127, it's actually 127.6 million that the Affordable Housing Commission has invested expanding the supply of housing and supporting services and programs to reinforce human capital, strengthen families and neighborhoods, and improve housing stability. And so that gives you a breakdown from 2003 to 2023. We're coming towards the end here. Just want to give you a couple of additional pieces of data that let us know that some people are vulnerable to housing instability, some more than others. and housing instability disproportionately affects renters, people of color, people with disability, seniors, low-income families with children, and households with lower levels of educational attainment. Nearly 20% of the population in the city of St. Louis lives in poverty. This compares to the national average of 11.6. When we talk about housing stability, we look at what affects housing stability, and here's a few of those items. Limited supply of available affordable homes, changes in the housing market, increasing the renter population and reducing home ownership, shifting economic dynamics of rising housing costs while wages remain flat, a percentage of population that is low income or living in poverty, growing number of cost-burdened households, redlining and discriminatory housing practices. The housing stability is measured by the home ownership rate, housing cost burden rate, eviction rate, and the number of our homeless. And we know that for the last 2 decades, the price of housing has increased faster than the income growth, and this is true for renters and homeowners. And when the cost of housing exceeds 30% of a family's income, painful cuts have to be made. Families begin to cut back on groceries and make sacrifices in healthcare, education, transportation, and so on. And we say life suffers. Housing cost burdens make it more difficult for people of modest means to accumulate emergency savings. Prolonged housing instability hurts family and society. So as countless households lose their economic footing, they become increasingly at risk of eviction and homelessness. So we all have a stake in solving the affordable housing crisis. So that is the work that we do and the work that we've been doing with a very small group. For most of our existence, our office is made up of 5 positions, including myself. A couple of years ago, I think that was last year, there was an account manager added and a per performance position, which means you get no benefits, and so it's very hard to fill the position. But I do have the person who was our accountant for quite a while, who left last year to go to a private company that was paying more, and but continued to remain part-time. And so as I said, our budget is pretty basic budget, and I'm able to answer any questions now in regards to the positions. You'll see those in your table of organization there. It's 7 total, but that 7 includes the part-time per performance. But out of those 7, for the last going on, it's over a year, probably a year and a half, there's only myself and 1 full-time person. And then my per performance, who is a part-time person, who was our accountant. So for almost 2 years, I worked very long hours because I perform all the other duties. That's why I was going to go get checks, because I'm always in City Hall, picking up contracts, dropping off, whatever. So the secretary duties, the payroll duties, the accountant duties, the compliance duties, and my duties, I do that because it's important. And I'll continue to do that until hopefully we can fill these positions. So those positions are very much needed. The personnel department is aware of it. I'm encouraged that we have a new director who's making some changes. I recently had to resubmit some of the recs that I had previously had in, because it had been over a year and they're just trying to start on a new path and change some things. So I am anxiously waiting to receive some more, some good lists. One of the biggest challenges is, once again, it's pay. But I would say in the last year and a half, that has been increased. So that's good news. And hopefully, now that some of the incentives and benefits that came with COVID that was needed, but it's winding down, and hopefully people will be ready to come back into the workforce, because I don't know where they all are. I can just tell you that it's hard to find them. And when you are competing with the private sector, who's also dealing with staff shortages the last couple of years, they are paying more and offering other incentives that I don't have the flexibility to do that. But we have carried our duties out, and in addition to the funds that you see in the budget you have before you for FY23 that we did successfully award all out, have just about, I think I maybe have 6 more contracts to establish. So that's close to 40 contracts in the last year that I've created and gotten executed. And in addition to the ARPA funds we received and the RFPs that I put out and awarded, and those contracts that are being performed right now.
Thank you so much, Director. We talk so much about affordable housing in St. Louis and the incredible need for that, and your organization, the Affordable Housing Commission, is really the organization that is distributing the funds that the city takes in and really puts back into the community for affordable housing, and we really appreciate your work. A couple points of clarification before I turn it over to members of the committee for questions.
Sure.
At the beginning of your presentation, you mentioned that there are 11 commissioners.
Yes.
I see 10 listed on the site, on the city's website.
That's
Is there an opening?
There is. We had someone who passed last fall.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. I think it would be helpful for the committee to know, is this something for which people could apply or be, how does?
Yes, the mayor has a website that you can apply for, on the city's website. You can apply for all boards and commissions, and it's listed there as well.
Okay.
Because within our ordinance, it names specific areas of expertise for these different 11 positions. So it asks for, say, a resident that lives in public housing, a senior who's been an advocate for affordable housing, someone in the health industry, development, things of that nature. So it is listed there.
Okay, thank you. Do you happen to know the area of expertise that is currently missing from the board?
I think that is the senior.
A senior.
The senior housing advocate.
Senior housing advocate, okay,
Yes.
thank you. And then just a couple of other questions. So you mentioned that there were 7 positions in our budget, page 27, which outlines the Affordable Housing Commission. It indicates that there are 6 positions for
And then the per performance, so it's just down below.
Okay, we don't
Up
have
down
that
a
listed
little
here, but,
And you know what? And I'm going to tell you, and I've been watching you, so I know you've been saying that this is a little complicated. This new system, the way the format is a little different than last year. Also, we don't get the hard copies of books, so I just go in and print out mine. So I may not have the pages you're coming from, but on the detailed line item book from that on page 71, it has all of the staff positions. And that's where you will see the per performance
okay.
drop down. And then you'll see the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
On 71, I see 6 positions.
71, is that the detailed?
Correct. I've got the line item detail, and I've got 6 positions here. And I'm asking so that we don't
So
have any errors.
maybe they don't
or-
put the, no, it's in there, it's just maybe a different book, because I have what the budget division sent me, and then what I went online and printed off. And so I got a clean copy of it with me.
Okay.
So I think it's probably maybe just in a different book, or it's on, if they don't have it there, and then it would be at the beginning of, maybe in that same book, when you flip over to the first page, does it show where it says salaries? Do you see anything up under that that says per performance?
I have salaries, regular employees, temporary employees, and then I have a $20,000 salary for a per performance
That's
employee.
it.
Okay,
That's the per performance. They don't put the title there, and that's just like the temporary. So I have a temp also. So
Okay.
when I get a temp, I use a temp. So I have a temp accountant right now. We keep using a temp as long as we can keep them until we get some more, at least I get a full-time accountant.
okay. Again, we just want to make sure, I know the
That it's
transition to the
there.
Oracle's been difficult, so we just want to make
Yeah.
sure everything that you need is in here.
That's where they have it. But
Okay.
I did find one, like I said, online in the book. I thought this was the detailed line item book on 71. They did have them, all the positions, including the per performance and temp, but that doesn't seem to be the way it is at the book you're looking in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking through the budget, there's no general fund that goes into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. It is at the local
No.
use tax, which was what the voters voted on in 2002, correct?
Yes.
And then the grant funding that was available to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund last year, the $2 million, I presume is ARPA money?
That was all ARPA, and so we've awarded that. Those awards were made in January for a total of 6 housing development projects.
Okay. And even though, our fiscal year 2024 has a budget of 7.2 million, which is significantly less than last year, the reason being that we actually have more use tax funds going into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, but that one-time shot in the arm of the $2 million from last year is not part of this year's budget. So while it looks like
Right.
there's a decrease, it's,
Right.
yeah,
The
okay.
way last year it was done is the ARPA was just built right into it, but it was, when I say built in, it was on a separate sheet coming from the special fund. And so this year, what we are proposed to receive is the same, about 6.5 million. And you've been passing that for the last 2 years. And how we got to the 7 is because we have on our housing projects, many of them are loans. So they're long-term, no interest over 30 years. We had one development that did something that hasn't happened before. They they didn't sell it. They were refinancing. And so anyway, they paid us our loan back of like $416,000. And so that was deposited. The way that we have to deal with our budget is even if we know someone comes back for whatever reason, I can't get the finances, or we lost a director, we're going to have a significant amount of the funds awarded left, I have to pretty much wait till the next fiscal year to spend it so that it can be appropriated. So we got the deposit about 2 months ago now, and so it's built into here, into this budget, in order to be able to spend it. So that's where you see the increase. Also, as we go through and look at all the contracts that are closed or about to close, and we try to hurry up and get those closed out if they've made all their expenditures, we take all those balance, you go through a process. So I closed out a number of contracts, about 14, that had different balances to see how much, it totaled up to, and I added that in. So I closed those out with the comptroller, but if we want to spend it, we have to put it into, add it into here, or else that money is just sitting, and I don't like to have it sitting. I don't like, but, I'm reminded by the budget director that you got to get it reappropriated. I don't like if we find out in the fall, and then we're waiting until, this time again before you can spend it, because once again, we know the need is there. We know we have people before us that have proven the need and that they had a capacity to try to fill some of it. So I like to see it get out to the people. But so I try to wrap it up in time at this point to close them out and add that. So that's what you see. Because if you look at the FY24 revenue estimate page that the budget director presented in the revenue book, on page 17 of 26 is where they have the special fund and other fund revenues. and you go down to the Fund 1110 for the Affordable Housing Trust, that's where you see how much funds we will receive out of the trust this year.
Where is that? That's on page
It's on
17.
page 17 of 26 in the revenue estimate book. It's the little thin, it's normally the smallest, the thinnest book. And so actually, and that's where you'll see that large deposit that I just spoke of as well on page 17. So you'll see if you look at last year, you see we received 6.5 million. In '22, we received 6.5 million, '21, 5 million, 26 million. So it's the same 6.5 million, okay, but then what they add in is when we get payments back. So the 6.5 is, I like to call it the new money. That's the new money. And then you'll see that 470,000 under FY '23, that was the deposit. So that was the revenue that was brought in. And now, I'm just putting it over to this coming fiscal year, so we'll be able to spend it. And so I look at whatever we receive from the budget division that they say we're going to get this year, and then add any payments that we received back. Because also, the ordinance says that funds we receive, it has to stay in the trust fund. And so that does get to come back directly to the trust fund when we get any repayments or interest.
Director, that's so helpful because we'd heard the 6.5 million and it's a little bit confusing because the
Yes.
local use tax identified in our line item budget says 7.2. So I really appreciate
Yes.
that point of clarification. I'd like to turn it over to the committee for questions. In order of seniority, Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director, thanks for being with us today. Thanks for that clarity, because those were a couple of my questions, but I want to make sure that a majority of the trust funds are construction, correct? Mm-hmm. And is that, you mentioned that those are mostly structured, or all of those are structured as loans?
It depends on, most of them are structured as loans. All of them are loans. Some are forgivable, some are
forgivable
repayable.
or a soft financing.
Because sometimes it's a nonprofit coming in, and the units they have are going to serve people who are 20% and below.
Right.
And so that would be a forgivable loan.
Right. Most of the LIHTC projects have an affordable housing partner.
Yes.
Or have a nonprofit affordable housing partner or component to it that
Yes,
makes
and
the
those are
project
much.
eligible for those soft sources that can either be forgiven, right, or
Yes.
structured very favorably.
Yes.
So that's why there's an anomaly. I mean, typically, right, the principal repayment is consistent around that mid-20,000s based on, the total amount of the fund. But you mentioned that there was a refinance, a favorable refinance that must have took place that gave us that blip.
Yes.
So
Somebody actually paid us back.
it's important to remember that jump is probably not a sustainable or consistent
No,
one.
that's
that
the first time
400,000.
it happened.
Okay, that is very helpful.
Yes, but we receive it, the good thing about it, Alderman, is that we put deed restrictions and we have covenants on all of our agreements for development, so it still remains affordable for
Certainly.
the maturity. And so if it's 30 years, if it's 25 some, I have one, the longest is 55. But, so generally, when we are negotiating, especially if it's going to be a sale, there are certain agreements that we have that they agree to accept.
Sure. Okay, that's helpful. That's all the questions I have. Thank you, Madam
Thank
Chair.
you, Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I missed some of the presentation, so I'll go back and watch it, and I hope I don't ask questions about something you've already said. But
That's okay.
thank you. I had a question about the same thing that Alderman Oldenburg was just asking about. In general, how does the commission plan or set goals for revenue, if any? I think one of the things that we have to look at as the budget committee is not only what the budget is, but how much money's coming in and how do we make sure that the departments that are bringing in money are prioritizing bringing in money so we can spend more money
Right.
for our city. So
And
I'd
so-
just be interested in
Yeah,
how that
and so
works.
the bringing in money part goes back to a lot of what I explained throughout the presentation is how we came about, was through advocates and activists. And the whole purpose is to always have a source of separate funds from the city's general revenue. So no matter if the city, because we've seen times where we had to pretty much lay people off and things of that nature. So no matter what is going on with the city's financial status and state, there is a steady stream to serve people who are poor and low income. Anytime you're going to build housing for people who cannot pay what it costs to have that housing built, there's a significant need for gap financing. And that's what we were intended to do, as well as provide services to those who are poor. And so 40% of our funds have to go to serve people who are 20% and below the area median income, which is most always going to be your homeless. So we were not created to bring any money in. That's not our mission, and that's stated in the ordinance. So what we have done is created a revenue stream for the city to be able to generate funds from a special use tax. The whole intent was to fund affordable housing and health care. Now, we've done that exceedingly well because you have in the estimates from, in your book from the budget director that it's taking in over $50 million. And the Affordable Housing Commission generally is only getting 5. This time, 6.5. Well, the whole intent of why this was created was to go here. So I would say in that case, it's generated a lot and the wealth is spread and it is fitting important needs for other departments like the police, the fire, wherever those of you with your infinite wisdom decide to put it. That's where it's going. So, but within the commission, we're not created to generate funds. But while we're not, the housing development is loans. All of the 3/4 of the money is due for services that are all grants. So they don't generate anything. We grant it out to serve the poor, uplift them, do the good work. The funds that are for housing developments, all of those are loans, but some are forgiven, some are repayable. But even in structuring those are to be long-term loans. So they go the length of anywhere from 25 to 55 so that you can guarantee that those properties will remain affordable. So that's the point of stretching out, and most of them charge no interest or 1%. And even with that, the amount that we invest in a project, most of the time, we are always third or fourth in line as far as talking about being repaid. Because once again, the goal is we have to get more affordable units built within projects, especially that have market rate units. So that's why we call it mixed income units. So you'll see some of the numbers in your packet about how many mixed income units we've created. Hardly ever are there developments when you compare it in the overall that are only serving all 20% AMI. Now, there are some permanent supportive developments that provide counseling on site, help you to make sure you're getting your meds, get a chore worker, things like that. People who live in there, most of them have mental illness, they have disabilities, they have layered issues that they have been granted those rights to live in that type of development. And those may be anywhere from 0 income up to maybe, say, 50%. It's still not just all 20. So, you know, it becomes a benefit because you're investing and creating affordable units within a diverse community.
Thank you. My next question is different. What coordination, if any, happens between the Affordable Housing Commission and CDA, especially around the NOFA that's out now, or that's due in June?
Well, it's two things. when I say two things, I got two different answers, because there's two paths. One, CDA receives all HUD funds. None of our funds are HUD. So the regulations we deal with are
It's
totally,
ARPA funds, that's not HUD.
no,
And this-
CDA is
CDA gets
funded
HUD.
through by HUD.
Or the NOFA that's being funded now.
Right, but
That's HUD too,
I'm
not
getting
ARPA?
to it.
Okay.
That's the ARPA that's now, but I'm saying their whole structure and how they operate is different from ours, because their source of funds is HUD funding that comes with a ton of regulations and processes. Ours are tax dollars, so we don't have those same regulations, so our processes are different first. But on the ARPA funds, well, let me say from a broader view, last year, under the new administration, there's more coordination that goes on. So I am in weekly meetings about housing development. I'm in monthly meetings about housing development. I'm in lots of meetings with all the other departments that do housing. So there's regular coordination that's gone on. We've participated in the drafting and putting together of the economic justice action plan. And the planning department are always in these meetings as well. And so when the city has proposals from MHDC, which is the largest round to go after MHDC tax credits each year, we have a committee that has been formed that consists of myself and any other representatives I bring from my department, CDA heads, SLDC, LRA, planning department. That's been going on for years. So yes, we do coordinate, but it doesn't mean that, so you look at what the needs are and approaches, but everybody can't do all the same things the same way. That's the point of having the different divisions, because we have different streams and different missions. So we stay within our mission, but at the same time, we do coordinate with CDA and SLDC. Now, with the ARPA round they have out now, once again, once the housing portion of that economic justice plan has been developed, and then all of us look at that and try to prioritize permanent supportive housing, home ownership, the rental units in areas where you have high opportunities, things of that nature.
Excuse me, I have to go vote at
Okay.
another committee hearing, and that was all my question. Thank you for
Okay,
answering.
all right.
Quick break and let you both vote here, and then we can,
Okay, that's great.
we'll take a quick vote. We'll take a quick break, and you can vote here. Because the next question would be to Alderwoman Saunier.
Thank you.
Sorry, Director.
That's all right. I understand.
sorry.
I understand.
Sorry, myself and Ann are here now. We've been here, but we're ready to vote.
Health Committee.
Second?
I do think you can do the roll call and take the votes.
All right, I'll talk to myself then, and answer. I'm getting to that age where I do that a lot. We will now call the roll. Chairman Boyd. All right, Sharita, take your job number 2. All right. Sharita, please call the roll for the vote. We have the motion was by Alderman Boyd, the second by Alderwoman Saunier, that we pass out Board Bill number 5 with the due pass recommendation. Please call the roll.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderwoman Sanye.
Aye.
Chairwoman Boyd. Aye. 4 aye votes.
Okay, by your vote, we have passed out Board 5 to present to the full board the due pass recommendation. I thank all of you speakers from the health department for your time and all your efforts. Thank you very, very much. At that point, we can move on to committee discussions. There are none. Announcements. Oh, Alderman Boyd, do you have an announcement or discussion?
No, you're fine.
Okay. necessary absence. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, we adjourn. Thank you all once again, and enjoy the rest of your May 18th. Thank you, go back to your seats.
Thank you all.
Whoa, child. It really was.
Looks so bad. It's so disrespectful. It looks
Like you're not taking it serious.
because at least the coffee's good.
The coffee is all good.
Oh, okay, so she been here for a few days.
Wow.
It's a lot of, you sleeping? I know what that was like, because before my mom passed, last year, I used to leave work, go by my sister's house, take care of my mom with her. Sometimes I get home at like 1 or 2 in the morning. Then my son, sometimes he would have to come with me sometimes, and he'll be over there too and still have to get up and go to school. Or his dad would come, and it was hard, don't get me wrong. And that was, my mother was very, so we had to pick her up, turn her, and then through the night, that was a lot. And then, but you do what you got to do. But, there's so many people doing it right now. This is the generation we're in. I'm saying, like people our age now, we're starting to lose our parents, and we're taking care of them now, you know? So, that was difficult, so. And yeah. Yes, because of. And most people can't afford it. We had our mother going back and forth in rehab, and so much mess was happening in those places. They treat your mama bad, so it was like, my sister had to quit her job. Thank God she had her husband. And she took my mom in after we could do. Everybody was trying to help her. And I was the of us. I'm the least paid one with income. So I couldn't quit my job. My sister who was helping own her business, so she could watch her business for the house.
Do you know?
So it made sense for her to keep her at one time.
April.
But she has daycare. She's, as much as she tried to watch her center,
I don't, yeah, but it's not necessarily about her budget. It's just in general, like, what is our role? Like, as alders, what's our interaction? You know what I mean? With the commission, I would have like that question.
We do, right?
Letters of support.
For people who are applying for it.
And we, years ago, this isn't reflected here, but we didn't usually fund that.
So what's it here? Director, we can go ahead and get you squared away here. I want to make sure we have some, Alderwoman Schweitzer, did you have additional questions for the director?
No, thank you.
Okay. Alderwoman Saunier?
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
First, thank you for coming and thank you for all of your work. And I'm really happy to hear about, 20% AMI. I know the Affordable Housing Report Card really shows that there's a strong need for 60% AMI below. And I know a lot of entities on the developer side specifically tend to go with 80% AMI because that's the minimum for affordability. But I see a lot of issues and challenges for that because, like you said, ideally we don't want people spending that much of their income on housing. I would just like a little bit more information on the role. I think it might be helpful for me as a new alder and for the public watching the role that, alders play specifically with the commission. I know I've heard of things like letters of support sometimes for people who are going, but just expounding upon like the relationship between the commission and alders, or even what you might like the relationship to be.
Yes. I would say the way that it's designed, most of the time, well, let me say, our board is advisory. There is a separation there in terms of when you say Board of Aldermen, because this is target and focused from where the aldermen are involved generally is in your communities, knowing what your community needs, participating in the planning efforts that come out of the planning department. And I know they have some money to do now plans for every, I would say, neighborhood, ward, one of those. And so as that's passed, and then developers are creating interest in where they want to invest for all types of reasons, and then seeing what funds are out there. When they come and we open a funding round and they apply, and then a couple of things that we require is a letter from the neighborhood organization. And so that lets us know that there is some consensus. We don't get involved. That is not our role. We don't get involved with the aldermen. This is not any rule or policy where we work directly with the aldermen. We don't not talk to aldermen, but that's not how we are supposed to operate. What we require is that the proposals have support letters from the aldermen, from other elected officials, and from the local neighborhood organization. That lets us know a couple of things. One, that you have the alderman support. And of course, aldermen call us, they tell us that they support it, but most often it's not a call, they write us a letter because we need it in writing. We have it in their proposal. That's actually counts towards the weight of whether you get awarded or not. And so we receive not just the alderman, but the elected, could be the mayor, sometimes a state rep, but definitely the neighborhood organization as well. Because I know from being a former alderman, if the reality is if you're building a project and the alderman doesn't know about it, the alderman doesn't support it, it's going to be some problems. And now we look at it from the standpoint of carrying out our mission and being accountable with our money. And so we've invested money, made a commitment, and it's just sitting there because now it's a fight between the alderman, the neighborhood, and the developer. Sometimes the neighborhood wants it and they're opposed to the alderman because the alderman doesn't want it. Sometimes the alderman wants it, but the neighborhood is giving them the blues. They don't want it and it could be a handful of people. And many of you aldermen know that it could be a few, but their voice is loud. And so it's a lot of dynamics that the only way, especially with the small amount of funds we have to go into housing development, we generally are the smallest investment in it. Most of them are getting money, larger amounts from CDA and MHDC tax credits. And so we tried to get caught up in any of that disagreements. We like all that to happen before they come to us. So when we receive projects, the alderman is already aware, the neighborhood group is on board. And our commission is made aware of that because they receive and review all the evaluations. They receive the copies of the proposals. If they want to come in, sit down, go through it with us, they can do that. So that is how we make sure we navigate between if there's alderman support or not. But as far as what the alderman has planned, we don't have the capacity, and we're not built for that. That should take place with the aldermen and their neighborhood groups, the city's planning department, and that sort of thing before we ever receive a proposal to consider.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director. And I'll add as well for the alderman, for our part, for many years, we did not fully fund the Affordable Housing Commission as a city. And going back about 4 years ago, the Board of Aldermen, many of us were advocating to do just as the voters directed us to do in 2002 when we passed the local use tax to establish the Affordable Housing Trust Fund and started to fully fund it. I think that was about 4 years ago.
Yes,
And since that time, we have been fully funding it. And our role, too, is to advocate for making sure that we're providing enough funding for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to do what our voters directed them to do. And that's a very, very important role. And so hearing their budget and making sure that they have the budget they need is an important piece of our contribution to the work they do.
And thank you, we much appreciate it. One of the things we are required to do too is we put out an annual report for transparency to show what we've done with the money, so everybody we funded. And I have newsletters. I used to bring a stack over here every year and put them in everybody's box, but haven't been able to do that since COVID. But I have plenty of them, and I go out to outreach, do outreach and go to affairs and hand them out as well. So if anybody would like some, it is on our website as well. I know I'm old school, so I get some paper copies still to pass out to seniors like that. And people like to have the information. Not everybody likes to stare at the computer for long periods of time trying to read it all. But it is on our website. But we do publish that. That's one of the is included in our budget as well. But we try to feature, this is the one we did for last year, the Veterans Project, as well as you'll see tons of food there for those who are in need. But this is the list I was saying. So we list everybody who we awarded any funds to every fiscal year, and what they provided with those, how much money we funded them, and what their the numbers that they served, and what the name of their program and agency is.
Director, in a follow-up, would you mind providing the members of the committee with that report, either digital or in paper form, so we can see?
I'll bring the hard copies too, because some aldermen, sometimes they ask for some to pass out at board meetings, if that's still such a thing. I say I'm old school. So we pass them out at events, or like I said, we have more, so I will make sure everybody gets some, no. And then if you want more, just please let me know. And that map, I was just saying, there's two maps. One is rental. And so I know it's not the largest to read, but trying not to bring something that's just huge. But I like it because it gives you a visual, and you can see where the different dots are to show you where the affordable rental units are and where the for sale. So you can see that they are pretty well spread out as well in the city.
Well, Director, thank you so much. We're grateful to be able to fully fund your work, and we really appreciate the detailed presentation today.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me opportunity to explain. Thank you.
Thank you for being so flexible as we were kind of jacking a couple different hearings
You
today.
have it. I love when I was just smiling when I seen you say, let me go on here and vote. We used to have to jump up, run across there, run back, every time it's a vote for something. So that's really nice. Technology, right? Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, and next up, we have our Excise Division. I believe Mr. McDonald is here with us. And I'll just as I'm reminding everybody who's coming before the committee here, just to remind everybody to introduce yourself, speak to the microphone for the folks at home, and certainly for those of us here who are hard of hearing.
Okay, my name is Miles McDonald. I'm the Excise Commissioner for the City of St. Louis. Thank you, the Honorable Board of Aldermen, for having me here this morning.
Thank you.
Our budget's pretty straightforward. I don't have any issues with it myself, but I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Commissioner, so we're going to turn to page 285 in our budget book.
Okay?
Which would be in our operating line item. But line item detail. And for those of us who are also tuning into the annual operating plan, we will be looking at trying to find where the excise commission is in that as well. Okay, that would be on page 165.
You said 165?
165 of the annual operating plan and 285 of the line item detail.
Excuse me, what? 282, looks like.
Could you repeat the page?
Right, that is, it's incorrect on our schedule here.
It's 282.
280 and 282, yeah. Sorry, it was incorrectly noted on our schedule here. Where is it? Okay. Commissioner, so we have a budget for the excise division of $700,000, and it looks like we have 7 employees. This is up a little bit from last year. Can you talk about what the major changes are from last year, the 7 employees, what your office does not do, what's under your purview, and any challenges that your office has? I know that it's been the subject of much discussion lately, and so I'd appreciate it. I think the committee would appreciate kind of an overview of excise.
Okay, we're short 2 liquor control officers.
Commissioner, can you describe, maybe more generally speaking, what you do, what the Office of Excise does, what's under your purview, et cetera, what our role here as a city when it comes to liquor control is?
Okay, the office is charged with the issuance of liquor licenses within the city of St. Louis and the administration of the ordinance pertaining to those licenses. We're not all that much involved in the enforcement aspect anymore. That's been by ordinance, that's designated to the police department. We do cooperate a lot with the police department if there's any questions, because there's a level I believe of expertise in our office that the average person in law enforcement does not have. And we're there to assist anyone that needs it, to advise anyone. And our main problems have been getting and attracting employees. The issues that we face now, I think, that's being much more serious than it has in the past, are the number of places that are just opening up on their own without a license and operating illegally. When it comes to our attention, we coordinate it with the problem property people and with the buildings division. If a summons is issued to that person for selling liquor without a city license, then the buildings division typically sends the on-duty building inspector by, and they do an emergency condemnation, which in some cases is not appealable, and in some cases you have a 10-day right of appeal, but that usually takes care of the problem. We've had some problems recently down there. Do you want me to get into specifics?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, I think
we had some problems recently on Cherokee Street. One with a place, the name escapes me because they did not have a license, but they had.
Exotica Bar?
I'm sorry?
Exotica Bar?
No, that's the next one I'm going to get to.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all right. We'll go to the Exotica Bar because the other one I think was a private residence. Now, the Exotica Bar no longer has a license. We found out after the fact that the premises never applied for or got a state liquor license. So that's a felony in the state of Missouri if you're selling liquor without a license. At that time, when we found that out, and that would have been last Thursday, it was, I think the state was looking into all the issues over there, but nobody really was aware that they didn't have a license until last Thursday. At that time, I requested our people to contact the owner and to have them bring in their city license, which they did. And we told them that when they got a state license, bring in a hard copy of that, and we would give the city license back. But since then, there's been too many questions on the ownership of the place and what exactly was going on there. So they voluntarily closed up and removed all the liquor from the premises. So that's where we're at with the Exotic Club. They should not, and the police were notified, they should not be selling any liquor in there.
Commissioner, on this, in a general sense, does the city's excise commission, do we require a state liquor license in order to get a local liquor license?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in the case of Exotic Bar, for example, recognizing the long wait to get a local license, I understand we're looking at 6 weeks to 6 months at this point, and the state's turning these around in 2 weeks. Are we requiring them to come with their state license before they get a local license?
I'm requiring that now.
Okay, was that not happening before?
No, but what had happened, because I was with the state of Missouri Liquor Control for 34 years, and we always required either a letter of approval or the actual city license before your state license was issued. Then in somewhere after 2010, somebody had the idea to get rid of the state liquor control, and they left the guy up there, even though they had no agency, they left the guy up there at full pay as a supervisor of liquor control. And he didn't have a good handle on it at all. So he said it wasn't necessary to do that anymore. And when that happened, the whole thing, the bottom kind of fell out of everything. And I think we've got a pretty good handle on it today up in the excise office. And as far as the wait time goes, the public safety as well as the mayor's office have added a lot of assistance for us to process the applications. We had some time back when there was a lot of complaints, 30 applications in what they call the queue, the line. And I checked this morning. I did 6 hearings this morning, and what we have waiting to be assigned out to investigators is 4. So that's down quite a bit.
It is. Did you have another bar on Cherokee that you wanted to mention while we, I know we kind of sidetracked you to the Exotic Bar, but you were initially mentioning a different situation.
Yeah, it was right up the street from the Exotic Bar, and they had, I believe they had 2 or 3 people shot the following night because our people were in the Exotic Bar and they were outside and they were there within the line of the gunfire from up the street. So that's I don't like to put those people in that kind of a position. So they're really not adequately trained for that kind of a situation.
You mean we had excise employees in a bar that were in the line of fire?
Yeah, I mean, that's not the first time. They were at a bar a couple of years ago, and they had recorded it, and you could hear on their recording very rapid gunfire coming from an automobile going by. I don't think they were shooting at them, but they were just the kind of areas that they're in.
Okay. Commissioner, you mentioned that there are several bars that have been opening up without a local or state license. How many do you think we have currently operating in that way right now?
Right now, I'd have to say, and since we don't license them or monitor them, we have to rely on the police information. I would say right now, probably about 6.
Okay.
And we put out a list every month and send it to problem property and the appropriate police districts.
Those are complaints that the excise division gets?
Yeah, places being open, or if there's, a lot of times it comes to our attention because the police calls at a location and they'll put it down, what type of business will put down bar. And we check it out, and they don't have a license, so they're just operating on their own.
Is that something you could share with the Board of Aldermen? I think we could be allies in helping to get the building division or other departments moving forward, because we certainly get a lot of complaints about bars operating without a liquor license, and it should be public knowledge who has one and who doesn't.
They do an excellent job.
Who does?
The buildings division.
Sure.
As far as doing the emergency condemnation, you couldn't ask for better cooperation than we get from the buildings.
It's very good to hear.
Public safety, everybody pretty well works together, the agencies. And we don't have any big issues. I mean, you're always going to have something going on.
Okay. Well, Commissioner, I mean, I've personally know of several instances where this has been a problem over many, months, even sometimes going up to a year. So what is really the gap here?
For what?
For example, Exotic Bar was selling liquor without us even local license for, to my knowledge, almost a year.
Yeah, I mean, that came to our attention. We told the police about it. You mean prior to getting the?
Correct.
Yeah, we knew that they were, and we closed them up.
Okay, so is there any ramification for a bar owner that's selling illegally, gets caught, shuts down, and then comes back and gets their liquor license? I mean, to me, that's a pretty big breach of the public trust when you're operating without a license from the get.
What we did, or what I did, is put out an office policy, and they should be a nuisance property at that time. And if a premises is declared a nuisance property, and we did not have access to that information until maybe about the past year and a half. So if it's a nuisance property, we will not issue an application to that person. But I think they got in under the wire and got the application and applied for it. Even though they probably, I would have to think they were a nuisance property, but they got in before we established that office policy. That's how we're handling it now.
So the 6 that are identified that are serving liquor without a liquor license now are not going to be able to get a liquor license when they go to apply for a real one? Is that the way I understand
No,
it?
if they're a nuisance on the nuisance property list, they will not get a liquor license.
I'd like to turn it over. I know the committee probably has a lot of questions,
Okay.
Commissioner, so, or at least has some. So I'd like to turn it over to members of the committee for questions. And going by seniority, Alderman Oldenburg.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Miles, good to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Alderman, nice to see you again.
It appears that there's probably just, and this, I don't want this to come off that this is a poor reflection on the way that you manage or run the office. You're obviously tied to a process via local ordinance, right, that exists. I think some of the work, and I look forward to working with your office as well as many other offices in City Hall. The Special Committee on Red Tape has been established at City Hall, and I think this is a good candidate for us to work with you on how the process can be efficient, to really relieve some of the burden, the administrative burden that your office shares in this process. Okay. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, a lot of the questions that I think I have been asked by the chairwoman. I mean, if it's more employees that are needed to help expedite, let's get you that help. If that's an issue of not being able to recruit good employment, then do we relieve the process in some way that makes it easier, so that folks can receive a liquor license or start a business in a quicker fashion. So it's going to kind of be a systems approach here. This isn't a mandate or a bullseye on the excise division's office. I assure you of that. I think the Special Committee on Red Tape is going to take up a number of things of where there can be collaboration with your office and others, right? Other permitting procedures that exist throughout the city. So I'm going to kind of look forward to working with you kind of, in a cooperative fashion, along with other offices and the help of the mayor's office and the city's operations. So I have no further questions, and I thank you for your service.
Thank you, Alderman.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. Can you repeat how many positions that you're short right now?
2 liquor control officers.
Okay. And what is their general role?
They process the applications. If there's complaints that we're going to address that are more administrative by nature than criminal. In other words, if we think that somebody doesn't have the proper visibility, kind of things that you can deal with on an inspection basis, then they go out and take care of that.
Okay. Thank you for that. And how long have the off-duty officers been helping in the office, and how many people are helping?
They've been there since March, but they're limited, I believe, to a 6-month tour there. I've spoken to a couple of people if it's at all possible, and they're very amenable to it because they really are doing a great job, and those ladies really enjoy the work. So, you know, it's helped us out enormously, and they adapted to it a lot quicker than any new employee we've ever had since I've been there.
That's great. I'm, like Alderman Oldenburg said, looking forward to the conversation about how liquor license process can improve in terms of just making it faster for folks. And
Well, what the issue is in the city, and I can personally tell the board, there are people that did not open up in the city because of the process. The signature process is overwhelming for a lot of people. You have to get a professional person to do it, and that can cost several $1,000s because they have to go around and get the signatures.
And you've probably seen it on the other end when people have a business in their neighborhood that's operating, that's causing issues.
Yep.
It's just as onerous for people to collect the signatures to contest the liquor license.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to, Alderwoman, is a protest petition process.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's through your office too, of course.
Yeah, that's with us, but that's kind of something that is a built-in safeguard. That's why if there is some, if the board would do something with the requirement for the initial signatures, where people could actually get in business, then if there is a problem, we have a built-in safeguard for that with the protest petition process on the other end.
Right, I agree 100%. We spoke about that during our meeting a few weeks ago, and we talked about the Red Tape Commission, and that's something that
Right.
I feel like has to be hand in hand, probably with a lot of these processes. I really look forward to the chance to ask a lot more questions, and I'll definitely be attending those committee meetings, so thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Alderwoman.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Saunier.
I don't really have any questions. I think similar to Alderman Oldenburg and Alderwoman Schweitzer, you know, I think we know that there's a lot of things that need to be done as far as improvements that need to be made with that process that I don't think that your office is like solely responsible for. So I'm just glad that we have the Red Tape Commission, and as a city we'll be working to improve this process, because I've certainly heard, you know, I think now I've experienced both sides where there are, you know, smaller businesses especially that feel like it's a barrier. And then also I've experienced community and smaller businesses that feel like there's some community components that are left out that the signature process alone doesn't account for. So I'm just glad that we're going to be having these conversations.
We have a pro-business posture in the excise office. I mean, I remember when I was with the state, that wasn't necessarily always the case. It was kind of difficult to get through the process, even if you had everything. But not so much anymore. It's just the people being handcuffed with the signature requirement that creates the snag in the whole system.
I want to echo the sentiments of the committee members here. You know, I'd like to make sure that when we have businesses that are operating outside the law, that we're taking care of them. I mean, I agree that the signature process is extremely onerous. It's very time consuming. It costs a lot of money. It is not the case in St. Louis County. And so you have business owners that are looking between opening up a new bar or restaurant in the city or St. Louis County, and it makes it a tougher call. That being said, when we're relaxing those requirements for for business owners, the community is looking to us to make sure that once a liquor purveyor does get a license, that they're going to be operating lawfully. And far too often, we've seen business owners, going beyond their liquor license timeline, staying open till 3 a.m. or later than that. We saw that downtown several instances. We've seen it in neighborhoods as well. Loud music and other things that can be really damaging to the surrounding community. And so, that trust factor is really important. I can appreciate that your office isn't in the enforcement business, but we really, and I'm glad to hear that the building division is such a good partner, but maybe strengthening from the police department or other enforcement aspects to make sure that when we do identify a problem, we can take care of it immediately. I also want to make sure that your office has the proper equipment to move forward. I hear a lot about your 8-track player and in the recording process. And so I do notice that we've got some additional funding in here for materials and supplies. I'm hoping we can replace some of that archaic pieces of equipment with some new things. Is that in the budget, Commissioner?
Yes, ma'am. And
Okay.
They've been pounding on me, they want new furniture, so I told them.
New furniture. I mean, I'm fascinated with the 8-track player, honestly. I don't even know where you would get the pieces for
You
that,
mean
but
that's
the recorder thing.
The
goes-
audio recorder?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's like something out of the McCarthy hearings.
Yeah, I know. I'm very
I
well
used it this
aware.
morning. I was on there this morning.
So how did you, are we going to replace that?
I don't know, we're on Zoom.
Okay, oh, okay.
We do that as kind of a backup.
Okay, that's not McCarthy era.
And, I mean, that's pretty burdensome too. If somebody appeals a decision and it's only audio,
Sure.
then the one secretary that we have that's familiar with how to do that, she has to transcribe the whole hearing,
Okay.
and that takes a while,
So how do we make that process better? What are some of the pieces that you're missing? I mean, we really do genuinely want, and maybe this is for the Red Tape Commission, but, as we're looking at your budget, I mean, honestly, I recognize, as, the Alderwoman from the 7th pointed out, this is for small business owners. I mean, to get a liquor license is an important piece of making their ends meet. I mean, you can't open up a restaurant without having the revenue from liquor very easily at all. And if your office is burdened with transcribing and things like that, and it's holding up the process for new business owners to be able to open, we're here to help.
No, well, we don't have that many appeals, and since we're on Zoom, that's all recorded by the St. Louis, I forget what they call St. Louis Live, I think.
St. Louis TV,
Yeah. That's all recorded by them and maintained, so that's available. If somebody wants to appeal a decision, their attorney can subpoena that, and that's available for them anytime.
Okay, well, I think rather than trying to fix these issues in the budget process, we'll lean into the Red Tape Commission and hopefully be able to address some of the structural issues and how we're issuing liquor licenses, how we're revoking them, and the community engagement piece. And just know that, I mean, this is a really important piece to the members of the Board of Aldermen. We're here to help. We want to make sure that this process is improved.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you, Commissioner. We'll take a short break before we go into public safety at 11:45.
Okay, I'd like to thank the board for having me here today.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time to be here. I know you were in jury duty and other things, so we appreciate
I
it.
got to continue because of this.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, you're welcome. Okay. Thank you. Well, yeah, I mean, public safety scheduled.
Perfect.
Gotta get that guy a digital recorder. They're like $50.
Mr. Kennedy, he sends them out daily. That's what he been doing. Like, well, I guess he did it, but every day he sends me what is for the next day. Now, the way they scheduled it like that, I didn't know that's what they was all like. Why they scheduled like a whole hour? But I think he probably put it in there. But I wish he had. So I wish they would have started it early. Cause public safety finna be long. Did you get the agenda with the schedule? Okay. Okay.
Hi, this is Alderwoman Sonia. I don't know if I need to speak to you or speak to Marie. So I came in before to talk about a catering order for a town hall that I'm having. Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure it was placed and ready, and someone's gonna come in to. I heard something about the new board. Don't get all quiet now when I came in.
No, I said it. It's good. I said it. I love it, and the new rules and efficiency are great.
You got a town hall coming up.
I do.
Yeah, but just like, like in general, like ward stuff, or like is it
The streets
focused on
director
something?
is gonna come.
Oh, okay, right
So
on.
we'll choose a topic every time,
Are you gonna, like a monthly or something?
bi-monthly,
By month? That's smart.
not every month.
Yeah, that's smart.
But I have childcare and food as well. I give them dinner and childcare, but I had to find basically other people to pay
Right,
for
yeah,
that.
no, I'm
because
sure.
When I asked about like, oh, can you use work, how they're like, we gotta do more research. Nobody's ever asked us.
Right.
And I didn't have, I mean, the meeting next week. But Bethany's gonna come.
Make it
so-
happen.
Yeah, so I'm gonna choose a topic every time. It's gonna be at Hodgins Elementary. I hope to keep it there because I really want people to go into schools whether or not they have children, just to feel like schools are part of communities. So I hope to keep it there.
Yeah, they used to be neighborhood anchors, you know, and I mean, they still are where they exist.
Right.
In some cases.
Right.
Yeah,
And
no, I
this one
think
is a
that's
polar
smart.
place,
That's a good
so
idea.
there should be some familiarity with it, a little bit. But
You
yeah.
got someone coming in to do childcare, you said?
Yeah, childcare and
That's great.
wow, listen, I said I was gonna be everybody's alderwoman, I was gonna eliminate all the barriers.
Right, I love
People love, and I'm taking an hour, I'm taking 90 minutes in every neighborhood. I have 3 more left to go in outdoors with that neighborhood organization and tell the community about the town hall.
Oh,
Above and
smart.
beyond. Okay,
Okay. Wow.
yes. The police captains will be there, the NSIs will be there.
I was just about to say, we just need some media following you around.
Basically. Basically. Hello. But yeah, I was just confirming the food order. And it's weird because it's no rules, so I'm just having the people who are paying for it, I'm like, listen, I don't need any money, just go to the business and pay for the order. Thank you. But since we don't have anything set up for orders, like, I can't use my campaign account, this is an office event, but the city doesn't have any accounts for us to use for these type of things outside of actual work capital, which is usually for settings.
Sure.
So,
Interesting. Oh, right, so like you can't like make this a campaign. It's not.
it's not, I mean, it's for
Yeah.
the office.
I mean, it was more like a question.
Yeah, I mean,
that's
you
what-
could make it a campaign event if you wanted to.
But then they probably want you
I mean,
to report
I'm
back
much more
to the
familiar with that, yeah, and I would just, and it actually, that would have been easier, but I really wanted this, because I'm used to campaigning.
Oh, yeah, you're used to doing
I
that,
already
right?
have a campaign.
Right.
My campaign has more infrastructure than the Senate office does. You know, I would have known who to tap, who to go to hell, who to ask to pay. I could have used money I already got left over because we didn't spend everything. It would have actually been easier because you have more infrastructure for your campaign than you do for a new office that doesn't, it's really not a thing.
Especially in the middle of like a new accounting system that everybody
Exactly.
will have a problem with.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I get it because I think if you count it as like, I mean, you could. I mean, I'm sure our meetings at some point there'll be more of a campaign event, but I wanted this one to be our first event as an actual seven-day. I think it'll go well. Fingers crossed for attendance. Yeah. But we already have 34 at RSVPs, and we still have 2 more neighborhoods that we're gonna go in to knock on Saturday. And then I think the other one, I'm doing 1 or 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. And then I think we would have done all the 7 neighborhoods like I was planning to.
Would it be crazy for them to give flyers to the kids?
No,
Take home?
no, not at all. That would probably be smart.
Yeah.
Probably in the future. that's-
can't help, ideas just pop in my head.
In the future, I definitely need to do that. One of the things I want to do is like actually go meet with the principals. But the school board is a little interesting.
Yeah, they're politicians too.
Yeah, but because I come from them, they let me, okay, you can use the school, you know.
That's
they've
right,
been-
you are.
So they've been working with me probably as best they gonna work with any of us since they know me. They're like, you just came from here, yeah, you can go, you can get to school.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
Oh, because they can be thinking about using that as
I mean, I think
for aldermanic events.
yeah,
That makes sense.
or just politicians being in. I really don't agree with it, but I mean, even as a board member, that was one of our sources of a contention. I think people think about community engagement differently. I think if
we had a groundbreaking in the neighborhood where it's a healthcare facility that help our unhoused and HIV community.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I was on we was doing 2 meetings at once.
I know, Kara's like, we ain't got a quorum. I'm like, oh crap. I knew you had another one.
Is the doors an expansion of like the area they already have, or like a satellite spot, a new, totally new spot?
No, it's
Like they have
it's
like a big like headquarters and like housing thing, right?
yeah. So this is it's an expansion of it. So they have 50 homes, and it's like, are we on break?
Yes, till 11:45.
Okay.
Like 15.
Yeah, it's an expansion. So they have 50 houses already, and their headquarters is on the front of Jefferson, the housing on the side, community space. I'm gonna put my computer on the charger just in case. Community space, and it's a really good expansion, I guess, of what they already had in the past. So, your Madam Mayor and Health Director was there. Alicia.
That's good.
What you got going on?
I'm just about to run to the bathroom.
Who we hearing when we come back?
Correction. Yeah, public safety.
The rest of it. I mean, I got a meeting at 12 today. What? With these downtown people in the parking lot sectors bill. But if I miss corrections, one thing I really want to get questions on is where they are with the safety. We should also take a tour. You know, we can't just all people take a tour.
I'm gonna take this to the other second.
To the corrections spot. But I'm curious what's going on with their locks and they.
I heard they have people that have trouble being tourists.
Well, you know, I'm here for protesting and standing
I'm
outside.
not even trying to I'm just trying to get this to the oversight board, whose job it is. I mean, it's called the civilian oversight board.
Oh, you're having problems getting in there?
Yeah, well, you should ask about that, but if I'm not here, ask about the locks that was supposed to be fixed. I think they also cut, they don't have as many staff as they did last year, which is like, what's that reason? I'm sure they're gonna say pay or whatnot, but,
Are you saying they cut the budget, like for staff?
I don't know if they cut the budget. Hold on,
Let's see, let's look at it over here.
Yeah, this is, if you want to look at anything about, this need to be our go-to guy, so, yeah, real, he knows all the budget stuff.
I mean, I've worked with those, you know, but
I use you, but I don't want to use you.
and they haven't done it yet, actually. It's available, they have money that they can convert it for that. I don't think they have actually done it.
I think we should sell it to make that industrial.
Well, there's a process going. There's so SLDC started like a community engagement RFP. I was actually on it. We selected an amazing company from New Orleans that has held public hearings about repurposing correctional facilities before. It's crazy that we found this person that's actually done this.
Yeah. There's a,
Hey, I don't know where that process is, but they selected a firm almost a year ago now, and I haven't seen anything about community hearings.
there's a trucking company behind the workhouse that does a lot of Midwest hauling and stuff that they do. I take it to another state road, but they want to get the workhouse so they can expand.
Oh.
They do like pellets and all types of stuff, right? I think it's not. I got 70 in Adelaide, but everything up Broadway or Hall Street, it's not. I got
Because I know that like the idea for the RFP, and I think the person came from the mayor's office, is for, you know, community is big, figure out what the community, do they want to sell it, do they keep it, want to make it like some special thing, you know, there's tons of, I think trying to avoid like presupposing what they want to do with it. I think selling it is probably the idea.
I think selling it.
But if they did, there'd be probably some sort of like, things on what kind of businesses could be there.
Uh-huh.
The trucking company would be pretty dark.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause it's already like.
And they're already there.
Yeah, it's already, and it's an industrial area. I don't see what you can make that purpose of. I mean, I think industrial is good. If we can pump it up here in Missouri or
I did miss you.
I was so excited to see Tom was here.
I know, Tom.
And then I gotta jump out for a 12 o'clock meeting, so. Okay. So, they're just down to the position. They're actually asking for the same. So, but not like ours. Yeah, they're asking for one more. Last year, they were 328. This year, they're asking for 320. So, what they're asking for, don't mean that it's paid though, right? No, right. No, look, as of the time of this budget was put through, only 171. So all this extra money for employees, where that ain't gonna go much. Well, a lot of it isn't actually extra, because Paul knows that the season's coming. So when you're looking in here, you can see corrections made for a negative, negative number right here. See this salary savings reduction? That right there pulls out almost $1 million of what all these budget positions should be, because he knows they're not. Yeah, so. And you'll see this across, but they put this year, almost every department is gonna have it. Yeah, but they put the money in there for hiring staff. I mean, yes, but no. What this is saying is if they actually fill all 329 positions, they wouldn't have that. But it's just no, because you have 10 years of data, even if you aren't assuming that. So why would you put the number in there if you know that would be able to? Because that's the authorized TO, right? You have to budget positions where it's not actually a position. But then if you're budgeting and the money's not there, you're really budgeting positions. So like I said, we feel that other 300 something of the money is there. 300 people, 170, whatever people want to come be a correctional officer, they sign up, get ready to go. Yeah, but the deal is that with, decades of data, we know that's not going to happen. And E&A has to, and personnel has to be involved in like actually removing the positions. So if you remove them and save money in your budget, then it's hard to get back on when you do need them, if you do need this crush of employees. But this actually makes it transparent. Like if you want, you see how much an employee makes, right, in that position and divide it. You see how many that they're saying probably are. And you can tell there's still plenty of room for new people to come on. $1 million. I mean, if you think about it, it's 50,000 each. That's only, it's only 20. So you can see that he hasn't pulled it all out. There's still plenty of room for them to bring more than
Guys, sorry, that's, yeah, or, I mean, whenever everybody gets back, but yeah, that's what we're talking
That's what I, yeah. And in other, the coordination is one thing, but the fact that it's permit to do the work is $0 per hour. And so all of that can come through other businesses. So I feel like yeah, because we can't afford our street parking. So we need to charge the amount, and hopefully that will trigger coordination because there's take care of this kind of thing, but it needs to charge. Yes, that's very strange, but it does make sense. Very, very strange, almost. Doesn't make sense at all. I know. Very strange. Yeah, I appreciate that. If you are able to direct me to the right people to talk to, this is something that like just feels like a necessity to figure out at a time. We have money now, we have money forever. How do we actually fund any citywide plan?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know it's going to be Nancy Vasquez and yeah, I am a sister of mine, so it's hard to have it's 4 or 5, just depending on where the needs are. It might be possible.
I can pick you up if you want.
Oh, you're
We
good.
do.
I really appreciate it.
just a moment, and we're going to get started on public safety.
Okay, so we're moving on.
Okay. Good morning. The- Okay. What's going on here?
Excuse me, if we can have everyone to sign in who's going to speak? If you could just print your names and what department you're from,
Christine's, I think, is
and you can
charging.
just sign it underneath, yes. Thank you. Hi, how are you? Chief Hoyle, right? You probably don't remember me, but I'm really good, because I was over at the fire department for a little bit. Yeah, and Alexandra was your, and we're still really good friends. I was over there with Cynthia.
These budget hearings are a lot.
The understatement of the year.
And then I was, because I was on Hampton.
Yes.
EMS.
Yes, indeed.
Doing the records.
Yeah.
But thank you, God.
But they're helpful.
Long story. But God is in control.
Get a good break after that. Okay.
Because you've spoken to me many a times. We had conversation. Yes. I'm the associate clerk. So we just do all the minutes along with Tracy and then the assistant clerk. We work underneath Terry.
Okay. Are we ready? All right, I'd like to call the Budget and Public Employees Committee back into order. We'll continue with the only item on our budget today, on our agenda today, Board Bill Number 1, our city's budget. And up next, we have the Public Safety Department. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
What's that out of the way? Okay, good morning, thank you. My name is Charles Coyle. I'm the Interim Director of Public Safety. I have with me today my fiscal manager, Coletta Fielder. If I need any assistance, I'll call on her. Public safety has a number of departments. Police department, we deal with the fire department, we deal with excise, building division, neighborhood stabilization, as well as Office of Violence Prevention. And hopefully I didn't forget one. But So our budget is pretty small comparative in the Department of Public Safety. Very straightforward. We have 10 employees that work in our budget and our department. So if there are any questions, I would be glad to answer them.
Director, so we're looking at your budget on page 260.
258?
If you could just give us kind of, you know, the main differences, highlight from last year to this year, your requested budget, et cetera. There's a pretty significant difference between your budget from fiscal year 2023 to this current year, and we just be helpful to kind of understand what the difference is there.
Well, there were some positions that were moved to the Office of Violence Prevention. We had requested a second deputy director at that time. This was before I came on board. So that has been moved out as well.
Okay. Consolidating sort of the...
Kind of consolidating operations, and there's going to be more of that as we work with the Office of Violence Prevention as well.
And it looks like there's an additional budget here, item budgeted for health and safety services.
Yeah.
That is above and beyond the requested budget.
Yes,
Can you
it is.
talk about that a little bit? It's a sizable item.
Yes, I will. I'll be glad to. I was going to bring it up, but I wanted to wait till we got to that point. This is actually for the temp tags. Temp tags in the city, you know, there are a lot of cars that are driving with temp tags. The police department is having to deal with this quite a bit. We think it deals directly with public safety. I know that there's ongoing conversations in Jefferson City to include the taxes into the purchase of the vehicles. But there's going to have to be some retroactive fitting for the temp tags. People are stealing them, using them for crime. We'd like to get to the point where we have a database of the temp tags. We can kind of control more of them. Working with the police department data to, once we have seen a temp tag, we know who it belongs to. We can tell if it's been changed from one vehicle to the next. We can tell if it's been utilized in crime as well. And Real-Time Crime Center, I'm assuming that you're all familiar with that. I think that would be a great help with this if we have a database that we can control the temp tags and know exactly who has them, if they've been stolen or not, or exactly what's done with them. Now, this framework is new, and we have not completed it. So I'm giving you what we believe we'd like to do, and those things can't change.
And so just for an added layer of clarity, the budget item, the $500,000 on the temp tags, what exactly are those funds going to go to, the database? Okay.
The database, in particular, the database. I don't know that we're going to need any additional personnel at this time.
Okay.
If this program works well for us, we may come back next fiscal year and ask for database, depending on how it works.
Okay. Thank you. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the committee for questions. Start in order of seniority, Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Director, for being with us today. My question was around that line item, and thanks for bringing that up and mentioning it. And I like that you connected it with the men and women who work in the Real-Time Crime Center. Do you see a need or a growing demand for dedicated operational funds from the public safety budget or the police department's budget to staff personnel in the Real-Time Crime Center? Would additional staff in there be helpful to continuing to leverage technology and technology's relationship with personnel, meaning uniformed police officers? Is that something that you could consider for future budgets?
Future, I don't know that we need to do it this fiscal year, but future fiscal years,
I don't either, but
I think we're going to be asking for something like that.
Good.
If you guys are aware that we have been awarded $23 million from the state for what's called a PSAP, Public Access Point. And I'm hoping that we can include something like that with it. We'll have all 3 dispatch centers in that one facility, 911 police dispatchers, EMS dispatchers, as well as our fire equipment dispatchers.
Yes.
So I think that would be a perfect fit.
Okay, that's good to know, and I'm happy to hear that. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. My questions were answered. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Salud. Alderwoman Sanye.
Thank you. I think I'm allergic to the black stuff on the mic that keeps falling off.
You've got the worst one.
Thank you for coming before us today. My question too was about the database for tip tags. I know sometimes that essentially, and I've seen this a lot just as my month of being older, like sometimes the vehicles, once they're stolen or lack tip tags, are used for criminal activity. So, you know, I'm certainly okay for tracking that, but I'm curious about like what will the data, like what is the intent of the data, what is the use for it, and really my biggest concern is I just want to make sure it doesn't lead to us, you know, penalizing poverty, penalizing just a citizen that just for whatever reason can't afford to pay for their TIM tax. So I'm just curious about the uses of the data that's collected from that.
Well, I see the use as something to assist the police department in their activities. I really think that, I don't think we have a plan to utilize it for stopping someone and collecting taxes or saying that you can't drive at this point. I think the big issue is that we've all witnessed people driving down the street, passing you, running red lights, causing accidents. That's become a big problem. And I see that as an important issue for us to try to get some control over that.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman, actually, I'll go back to, okay. Alderman Aldrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director, for being here. My question was around the same as Alderwoman Sonier, so you answered it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And just for a point of clarity, we're already tracking TIM tags, to the legal use of them.
Yes.
And it would be my understanding that this database would be essentially to track the use outside of the legally intended use of those TIM tags. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's the intent.
Okay. And Director, as you mentioned on the front end of this, you have under the Department of Public Safety so many other departments, the police department, the fire department, building division, excise, et cetera. What we're looking at today is your office, which has, just for our clarity, 10 employees budgeted for this fiscal year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And your budget hasn't changed much beyond to add the TIM tags, the removal of some of the folks to consolidate them with the Office of Violence and Prevention, and to keep the Office of the Public Safety Director's Office largely the same outside of those two changes, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Would you say, just for our knowledge, for all the departments under you, with regards to those budgets, and I know we're not necessarily going over those with you here today, but would you say that there's any major shifts that we need to be considering as we kind of move through the departments under your purview?
I don't think at this point we need to. And let me add something. I forgot a department, and I do this all the time, so forgive me. I forgot corrections. And the corrections commissioner is sitting behind me, and I'm sure she frowned when I didn't say that. So I forgot corrections. I have very bright and excellent commissioners that I'm working with, and it is a pleasure and makes the job much, much easier. At some point, we may want to look at this, but I don't think we need to do it at this fiscal year. So,
Look at major shifts.
major shifts if they have to be any major shifts, but currently I don't see that taking place.
Yeah, that's very helpful to know. Okay. Vice Chair Boyd, did you have any questions?
No, thank you for finally getting here, because we just kept moving you around like a chess piece, didn't we? So we appreciate you being so patient with us. And so, the public safety department, how many, I wouldn't say departments, but how many arms does that have?
I think it's 9 different arms.
9 different arms.
We're looking at about 3,000 employees total,
Okay,
9 different departments. We have the 2 largest departments in the city. Public safety is the largest department in the city of St. Louis. The police department is the largest, followed by the fire department. And then, I don't know, I think it's building division or corrections that's after that, so.
okay, all right. And so, I guess with all those arms, I don't think anything to you per se would be in regards to just target public safety because it has so many arms. And so I just know it's a lot that you all are dealing with. And like you said, it's just not the police as a whole, it's all the departments as a whole. Everybody's kind of looking at how to redefine the public safety department. So thank you for what you all are doing and thinking outside the box.
Well, thank you. If I can comment on, I really think it starts with the neighborhood stabilization officer, and you guys know that because they're in your wards, where they're able to get to a problem or a conflict before it becomes large enough where we need the police or the fire department to come out. So that's the beginning, I think, of public safety.
Right.
And that's one of the important parts, and they all work together.
And so they are proactive, so we won't go into those issues because they're proactive. Yes, sir.
That's exactly right. Now, if you get another department, which was the Oversight Commission, and as I talk, I'm going to remember the rest of the public safety departments. I apologize. I could have just turned to the sheet and
That's
given
okay,
you
you're
all of
fine.
them.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Anything else?
No, just ask for just a little, I hate to go back to the database, the temp tags, but there was some reports that some of the funds might be used to help folks get in compliance. Can you speak to that briefly?
I didn't mention that because we don't have that framework worked out yet. But that is an area that we're interested in helping people that can't come into compliance, come into compliance. I can't tell you much past that at this point.
Hearing no more questions from the committee, I want to echo the gratitude for your flexibility here in joining us and making sure we go over your budget. And thank you for being here today and for your service.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next up, we have corrections. Good morning. It is, yes.
It is, yeah.
Thank you.
Jennifer Clemens Abdullah, Commissioner of Corrections. As you see, our budget hasn't, it looked like it fluctuated. However, it's accumulation of historical data, so I think that's how we came up with our current budget, and we're not missing anything. So.
If we could talk just a little bit about the changes that we've seen in corrections over the last couple of years, just to kind of brief the committee and the general public about that. I know there's been some major shifts, certainly in the last year or two. So if you could kind of just brief us on kind of the overall function of corrections in the city, the moving from MSI downtown, where folks are, et cetera, would be very helpful.
Well, let me say, let me tell you, I've only been here about 18, 20 months, so if I speak out of turn or misspeak, please give me some concession for that because I wasn't here. But I will say this, because of COVID and because of the closing of the annex, there has it was a significant decrease in population of the inmates. However, because of the construction that we have had and the increase in bed space, we will be able to probably accommodate close to what we had, if not what we had with both facilities, if not a median of both of the population. So it's really, we'll be where we were previously, I think, as far as population goes. Everything's in the work. We should have, by the end of the fiscal year, we should have the construction done, the locks done, and everybody back in place.
And just for a point of clarity, so we have 2 corrections facilities, or we had historically in the city. MSI, located
Hall Street.
On Hall Street, and at the Justice Center down here.
That's correct.
So when you're speaking about the locks, are you speaking specifically about the Justice Center down here?
Only about the Justice
Okay.
Center. The annex is not in play.
The annex is,
It's not in play. It's not even in use.
right now? Okay. And so there's nobody housed there?
No.
So in the Justice Center, the lock system is, you're saying we're almost completed with the fixing of that whole,
By the end of the year, by the end of the calendar year, we should be. It's anticipated, unless we have supply chain issues.
okay. And so the budget for corrections, and I'm just getting to it, so my apologies, committee members are probably way ahead of me here. What is your total budget for the year?
Approximately 32 million.
Okay. I have 29 million here in the budget. Or am I looking at the wrong place? I have 32 million requested.
Yeah, you on here,
Where we at?
on page 311, 312.
Oh, 313, 32, oh, I am looking at the wrong place, my apologies, okay. So 32 million from the general fund, and 600,000 from grants and other funds. Is that what I'm seeing, Commissioner?
Thereabout, yes.
Okay. I will turn it over to my committee members for questions, starting in seniority. Alderwoman Boyd.
Thank you for being here. How many does the Justice Center hold safely?
Currently, we have a rated capacity of about 678. Upon the completion of the locks, it'll be a little bit over 1,000.
And so what's the ratio per inmate to guard? How many inmates should be per guard?
It'll probably be approximately 1 to 10.
Okay, so are we staffed for that?
We will be. We're in the process of hiring as we speak, more staff.
Okay, so I guess my concern is, because I kept hearing how inhumane MSI was, and so I'm just trying to make sure I have clarity. Is the Justice Center, how long are those inmates locked up before they can get out? Like to walk around, that's all?
They're actually rotating cells so that everybody's able to get out. We always want to put things in, and we hear things about being inhumane, but if you look at it in the U.S., any kind of housing of when you've committed a crime is, they want to consider it inhumane. But I say this, they get out of their cell, they have passive rec. So it's not as though they're not there out and mingling and doing things that they need to. Sometimes it's based on their actions.
Okay.
Oftentimes that dictates how long you're out, because if you're out conducting mischievous things that are facilitating contraband, it dictates how long you stay out.
Okay. And so I know you don't have the MSI, so that building is just sitting empty?
Yes.
Okay. And so the Justice Center, how many cells is it that we need to correct the locks?
Right now, we're currently working on, I can't tell you specifically
Just a
how many
percentage.
cells, but I can tell you the 5th floor, and then we're going to go down to the 2nd floor and do some renovations there. That's why I said by the end of the year, we should be done, because we're done with the 3rd and the 4th.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so I know you have a women and a men. And so the women, is that floor full or?
What we do is we have the women in one particular pod, and it is not full. So that's why when you may see our population report, you'll see that one housing unit is not completely full because it's just females.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming today.
You're welcome.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, Commissioner, for being here. Quick questions regarding MSI. Is it is the operational plan go forward on that to continue to be utilized for overflow? Are there larger plans afoot as far as for that space? And how much does it cost to just maintain that as either a vacant or an overflow facility?
We do not look forward to using it as an overflow. In the future, we look at it as non-existent.
Okay.
We have included all of the pest control and everything in our regular budget, so therefore, we're not even saying it's separate. So we just count it so I have to do a breakdown to figure that out, how much it's costing.
Okay.
But
And
it's
that's
minimal.
fine. A follow-up on that would be appreciated is all.
Sure thing.
I'm sure it's absorbed in this budget, which is what you just said, and that's fine. But I would like to know what it's costing to mothball that facility effectively for the city.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
sure thing.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderwoman Schweitzer?
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. How many of the folks that are in our facilities are for St. Louis related crimes or state or federal or other jurisdictions? Is it?
Let's say we have about 630 approximate right now. Approximately 375, 380 are St. Louis City folk. And other folks come from other jurisdictions.
And those are ones that there's some sort of fee structure for from other jurisdictions?
I'm sorry.
That other jurisdictions pay to
No, they're actually from other jurisdictions, live in other jurisdictions. They've committed crimes in the city of St.
Oh,
Louis.
I see what you're saying. Okay, so
I'm
there's
sorry,
no-
I misunderstood your question.
Okay, yeah, my question was more related to, if the city is housing folks for other jurisdictions.
Usually when we do, it's usually between 10 and 20 days. I'm not trying to be too strict on them coming to pick them up because just because we go and pick up ours quickly, I'm trying to give them some time and space because everybody has staffing issues. So we try to give them between 10 and 20 days to pick up from other municipalities.
And what is the average length of stay?
I'm approximating because it's about a year.
Okay.
If you do an average, it may be a little less than a year, and it has nothing to do with us.
Sure, that's often a trial-related issue or?
All related to the courts.
Okay. And have you seen that decrease since the courts have been more active since COVID?
Yes,
Sort of
they
lessened?
have, at first, when we started back from COVID, when COVID started to let up, they started with Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, then they added Thursday, and now they go Monday through Friday.
Okay, great. Is there anything in your budget that you are particularly concerned about or, I know we can look at what you was proposed or requested, and then what was proposed, but is there anything that you feel has been left out in any way?
No,
Okay, thank you very much.
sure thing.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman Saunier?
No questions at this time.
Alderman Aldrich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. How you doing, Commissioner?
Hi,
Thank
how
you for being here and jumping into the role. Like you say, you only been here, 20 months, you say?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Interesting.
A few questions on page, when you got all these different links. Computer got like 20 links up here. On the 313, make sure I'm on the right one. When it says educational and training services, is that for staff or is that for inmates?
Staff.
Okay. Do the Justice Center offer any like programs or training or entrepreneurship? I know St. Louis County in their Justice Center, they have this like barbershop program for the ones that will eventually be getting back out, but they can get their certificate and then potentially go out and be a productive citizen. Do the city offer any programs for inmates that are in the correctional facility?
Currently, we don't. We have programs that exist to help them, like working it out. It's from a mental standpoint. And then we're basically focusing on the females with that. We have some religious programs for the males. We're working with violence prevention under public safety to try to implement a training program regarding roofing. But this is not something we could probably implement at the Justice Center because the stay is not long enough. And in order to implement such programs, we have to have some security measures in place that a holding facility doesn't have. So I don't want to put some out there that I can't do, but I am working with violence prevention to say we can funnel those people to you, because for one, we don't know their length of stay. We don't know how fast the courts are going to move, and I can't anticipate that. But what I can do is have some set up, and I'm working with them to see if we can successfully funnel those people there. But it's all going to depend on their mindset. And that's where we are with some of the programming. We have to take everybody at their action. You can tell me one thing, but if you're doing another, that's where we curtail our programming and say we can only do 5 to 7 inmates at a time and doing certain things. So we have to be, I have to be realistic in order to run a successful facility. And that's where it comes into play in curtailing programming, is their attitude and their actions within the facility as an inmate.
Gotcha. Just 2 more questions. As far as technology, do any of the inmates have any technology, tablets, or stuff like that?
They have tablets. They have access to a lot of things. That is curtailed based on their actions.
Behavior.
Yeah, but it's there.
Okay.
They have it. And that's why I'm kind of like, you know, the technology's there. Do they want to use it? Probably not. It's other things to get into.
Yes, ma'am. And then lastly, is there and this could be I guess when the mayor gets here, a question for her, is there a board and commission that do regular meetings around the jail as far as recommendations, go in to see changes that need to be done? I know there is one on the county level. Like I said, this may be a mayoral question, a boards and commission just for looking at what's going on in the jails to try to support you in the city.
Yeah, that's probably a more higher level. However, we do take a proactive stance within the facility. And because I come from the federal government, we look into various programs that could help us elevate things for the staff, the inmates, visitors, and everything. So we're always open. So that is, I think, an elevated question.
Gotcha. I know me and my colleague, our new Alderwoman Sonia, will probably be reaching out to you because we'll love to come take a tour of the Justice Center.
Yeah, anytime you guys want to, just let me know.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Could I?
You.
We do have a commission that does that.
I thought so at you guys.
Yeah, we do.
It's
We
not at
have
my
a
level.
commission. Yes, you're right. Yeah, they do have it.
We established a corrections facility commission, I believe, last year.
Yeah.
And Commissioner, it's my understanding only from news reports that there's been some disconnect about getting access to the facilities with the commission, but
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we do have it. I know we do.
You're talking about in relation to oversight?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
That's something, that's a different commissioner
Right.
and a different questioning, so I can't answer for
Okay.
them.
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you do schedule a tour of the facility, I'd love to join. I haven't had the opportunity to take a tour of the Justice Center. Alderwoman Sonia, I understand you had another question?
The great thing about having colleagues who you align with is my question was going to be about a tour, that I was interested in coming in for a tour. So
It would be good for you guys to come and visit the 5th floor so you can see the differences in what we had and what we're going to. It would be great.
Yep,
for you
sure.
guys.
He want to get up there. Thank you.
And I think we might have an answer from the director.
You guys were asking about the Citizen Oversight Board, and they're still working on orientation. There are classes, and you guys just had a class on the 9th and the 10th for them to come in. So to come in and do the work that they need to do, they need to have an orientation class with the detention center, as well as orientation that they have to do based on the ordinance. So, and they're in the process of completing that so that they can come into the detention center when needed. So, but those things have to be completed.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure I mentioned it.
Me and Kara and I knew they had it.
Okay.
We just didn't know where they were.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, because they had created, was it last year or year before? Yeah, yeah.
And it's been in the news, and I want to make sure that before I came, it was in the news, and what has taken place is that Commissioner of the Corrections and the Commissioner of the Oversight Board have been required to meet personally to work on issues that they may disagree on. Right? And we allow the city councilor to deal with it at that point. So I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that.
Right.
Okay?
Thank you.
Director, appreciate it.
I just have one question I wanted to ask, because Alderman Oldenburg had brought up about the MSI, and I know it's empty. So I guess my question, because I was always thinking it sits empty, so do we have people doing the landscaping, keeping the building up, patrolling the area? Do we have, is that a part of expense that we are making sure that we have to cover that area?
Yes, ma'am. We're still doing pest control. They're doing some renovations because we did have a flood in there in
Right.
December. So we've had contractors in and out. We got staff. We still got our mower, our tractor to do the landscape. So everything is still in place. We're just absorbing the costs under CJC.
Okay, thank you.
Sure thing.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that
Thank you.
is. And the last item of business for today, I believe, is our NSO-CSB department. Good morning, or good afternoon.
How are you today? Awesome. So as you know, the Neighborhood Stabilization Division has two groups. One of them is the Neighborhood Stabilization Team and the Citizen Service Bureau. The Citizen Service Bureau has, it's the call center, and the Neighborhood Stabilization Team is the Neighborhood Improvement Specialist.
If you don't mind, I know we all know who you are, but could you introduce yourself?
Absolutely.
For the folks at home and for anybody who may not know.
My name is Sandra Zambrana. I'm the Executive Director of the Neighborhood Stabilization Division.
Thank you.
Hello.
Good-
So,
Thank you for being here today.
thank you. This is my first time here, so I'm excited. Too excited. So I wanted to let you know, we pretty much, there was, I think our budget is on page 304 and 305. And so there's really not too many changes. I think that I kind of reworked the changes for the budget this year. For example, for the part about the employees, I guess that's page, where is the employees part? Oh, 306. Is that the correct page for the employees? Okay, great. So I know that it looks like we substantially increased the budget. However, what we did do is ask for overtime, just to be able to comply with federal law. And I believe that there's like $51,000 for salary increases, you know, like your yearly, I don't know what it is, like 1% or 2%. So that was the difference. The major difference was requesting overtime. And in reference to 304 and 305, we did add one of the expenses for 561,005 line. We did include cell phones to give to our division, which was new and very much needed. And the second 565,800 internal services, that did go up a little bit because we acquired the cease and desist letters, processing them, some reference to like paper and stamps, going to the multi-craft, I believe. And the other thing that we did increase was, where is it? Oh, the employee awards and incentives. We requested $3,400 for that, which is, you know, like I want to be able to reward our employees for doing an amazing job. Sometimes I think that, you know, there has to be some type of incentive. If it's not going to be salary, then maybe anything that's going to motivate them, or just say thank you for doing a great job. And I think that's pretty much everything that went up. What I did do for the office supplies, 520,500, I combined two different lines to put them on that line, so there was no increase. I believe that I moved, so there was like 8,000 for supplies, and I think that there were like 2,400 for the office equipment. So I combined those two and I put them under office supplies. So it looks like it increased, but it didn't. I just combined them.
And just for clarity here, with regards to your staffing on page 179 of the operating plan, last year we had budgeted for your department to have 41 employees, and this year we've got 39. It looks like 2 folks from the other funds category have been eliminated or maybe moved, or could you just help us understand what that movement is?
Oh, yeah, so actually the 41, that was what I requested.
Okay, and 39 is what we have.
Yeah, so 39 was what was requested and budgeted for 2023, and I requested 41, however, we still have 39.
Okay. Well, I will turn it over to the committee for questions in line of seniority, or I'll start with my vice chair, Alderwoman Boyd.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for being here. I'm pretty familiar, probably too familiar with NIS and CSB. And I think what it is, I know you're doing a lot of change. You did a lot of changes in your department to try to make it more equality effort in regards to how to see it, the NISs were addressing issues in areas. And I think that was a good thing, because people need to, on one side of town, need to see what the other side of town was dealing with. And it was an eye-opener for a lot of your NISs, so I applaud you for that. That was a bold move.
Thank you.
So I know you got a lot of riff about it, but it was a good thing. Sometimes you need to change the norm.
Thank you.
But I think in communities, the way the communities are going now, I know the nuisance officers they were working close with the NISs, because I don't think people realize a lot of communities, one, they can identify the NISs because they don't wear a uniform or anything, so they don't know who they are. And then 2, they're going in communities, and I've had NISs where actually guns have been pulled on them. They have been intimidated. And so it got to the point they had to let me know when they were in areas, so we could let the nuisance officers come to be there to make sure they were safe, because that's a city employee and I can't have something happen to one of our employees. So had you looked, had you foreseen anything to how to have I know staffing is a big issue, but to work with a nuisance officer, have a buddy program or something to work with those NISs, because a lot of them are women, and reality is some of the men not safe. So I'm just trying to figure, are you looking at how you could make that a partnership to better have safety for our employees in the future for the NISs?
Yeah, that was looked at. However, like, I'm not able to tell another department or division like what to do. Like, I can only request it, and if they say no, then they just say no. So, I mean, I can definitely request again and, see what happens.
Okay, because right now, our city is really having a lot of challenges safety-wise, just for residents. So that the city employees are concerned to me, because I don't want something to happen to one of our employees, and so that's what I'm looking at. some areas, they are running into, and it's so interesting because they'll come out early to try to avoid the havoc, and a lot of those guys, that's their job, and so the havoc that they're bringing into these communities. And so this has been a norm for them, so they feel these employees are disrupting their behavior. So that's why I was asking, it's a big issue for me with safety. So I'm the nosy older person. I want to know where my people are so I can make sure they're okay. Just like your kids, you want to know what they got on and where they at. So that's a big issue for me in regards to the NISs. So I don't know, what we need to do to try to see how we can make it teams that could be out there, but, that's just where I'm at. And then I know you had, I think what my thinking is, areas that they are covering are so large.
Yes.
And you and I have had that conversation, and I'm just trying to figure out the best way to service those communities.
Yes, so I'm actually going to look again and see the numbers, because when I separated them by neighborhoods, I was looking at 6 or 5 different points. And what I did is I separate them, so maybe an NIS may have 6 neighborhoods. In a different area, they may have only 2 neighborhoods based on the stats that we had. So we did just hire a new NIS in reference to, and I'm going to see how it works. However, I'm actually testing this out and putting him on Hamilton, just that one, because I know we spoke about that. And he's also going to be serving 4 neighborhoods in, so Tiffany, Shaw, that area. And so together, it's the same weight that other NISs have as well, but this one is separated in 2. So they'll be in North and they'll be in South, the same NIS, because a lot of times what we see is, if you work only in one area, you get accustomed to either not seeing things get done or seeing things get done. So what if I did both? I don't know, it's kind of like an experiment to see how that NIS will handle both.
Okay.
So we did just add one.
Okay, and that's what I was just looking at, because I look at the neighborhood improvement specialists, and that's who they are, neighborhood improvement specialists. So they work close with building, they work with nuisance, so it's a team.
Absolutely.
And I'm just trying to figure out, the best way to help those communities and not overwhelm those NISs. So that's.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman Oldenburg.
I have no questions. Thank
Okay. Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I know that there was a huge effort to standardize some of the trainings that happened so that each NIS would be handling a situation the same way across different cities, or not cities, across different neighborhoods. Can you talk a little bit more about that process and how that you feel is going?
Yes, so what we did is we created a training manual for all of the NISs, and we included everything, processes for anything, right? City works, how to handle problem properties. We are working on, we're creatures of habit. So some of our seasoned NISs, they're taking a little bit to get used to the new procedures or the new way of handling things. However, I think it's going great, it's a standard. It's just everybody knows that we handle this neighborhood the same as this neighborhood, that there's no differences. We do come into a slight issue when we're working with other departments, because other departments may not be doing the same thing. I don't know. So that could be a little difficult to maneuver through, because if I'm asking the NIS in this area to do this, but the building division is doing something different, or I don't know, police department, whoever, right? If they're handling the situation a little bit different, then it may cause that NIS to do it a little bit different too. So it's a slow process, but it's coming along.
That makes sense. I see here that you had requested $18,000, a little over $18,000 for education and training materials and supplies, and that it was not part of the proposed budget. Can you speak about what that had been for, what you were looking for that for?
Yes, so there's a lot of different courses that I believe that we need. So in reference to like communication skills, or we actually just got included into the Department of Public Safety is doing, we're going to this mediation class that is like 2 days. So if you look at, for example, that class, I think it may have been, let's say that your average class for 2 days will be like $400. So literally it's just, if we go to one class, that money, because I have 30, I'm supposed to have 39. Right now I only have 34. So that number was literally just for one class.
Got it. What do you think that the most time is spent on from NISs? Like in general, is there one thing that is the time suck for everyone?
What was the question?
I guess in my ward, I hear a lot of people spending just so much time on vacant housing and squatting, for example. That seems to be the biggest thing that takes, 6 hours per incident. On the one day they wait and watch and see what, I guess from your perspective, what is the thing or a few things that are what takes the most time from your staff?
In reference to the NISs or the CSRs?
NISs.
I would think that it's basically the field. Is going into the field, and because what the CSRs do is they receive the calls from the residents, and then they put the service request. So the NISs fill in the gap of people that don't call, and there are issues happening in the neighborhoods. So I think that that's one of the things that takes the longest, is just going through each block and each alley of the neighborhood.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's interesting how constituents interact with their NIS or even their alderperson. So often, we're the first call, or the NIS is the first call when there is a problem, and we try to direct things through CSB to get input there, so it goes to the right department right away. When situations are more complicated or they don't get solved in CSB, is that something that you see your folks working on in the NISs a lot too?
Yes, so I am, so I started in July 2022, so my focus, I'm going to say, was largely the NISs. And now my focus is being shifted to CSB. And one of the things, I just had a meeting yesterday, and what I told them was any phone call, so the first time that they call, right, if the person calls again after the projected completion date, if they call back again, at that point, they need to tag the, in CityWorks, if you tag somebody, the email will go to that person, to tag the NIS and to give the person the NIS's contact information. That way, because at that point, we already gave the department time to work on whatever the issue is. And if it hasn't been worked out, then the NISs have more time to devote to that resident than the CSR, because the customer service representative is taking call after call after call. There's like 15 calls in queue, 30 calls in queue. So, so that was the new instructions that they're going to get, that they got yesterday, which I believe that that's going to be a lot better than before, because then the NIS can talk to them, and then talk to different departments and do whatever it is that they need to do to get the issue resolved.
And for the 5 positions that you're still hoping to fill, are those NIS positions or CSR positions?
So they are, NISs, and then I'm requesting like an administrative assistant. So it's NISs, administrative assistants, and I had 3 supervisors, and one of them just resigned, so it's like a combination.
Got it.
like, we don't have a payroll specialist right now. You know what I mean? So it's like a payroll specialist, an administrative assistant, and NISs.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Saunier, and I am getting a request that we speak a little bit louder for the folks tuning in on YouTube.
Yes, I don't really have any questions for you all. I feel like of all the departments, you all are the one that I learned the most about through experience because so many of the direct emails and conversations that I get from constituents are about you all. And I think like maybe within my first 2 weeks, I had a sit-down conversation or a ride-along with every NIS that covers the 7th Ward. So I would just want to like sing their praises to you, let you know like they're working really hard. For me, the ones that are within the area I cover, they're very responsive to emails. We work together on constituent concerns. I see them at community events. We have open communication if they want to bring something to me or I want to bring something to them. For me, they have really helped this to be such a smooth transition and even helped me understand, oh, okay, you might want to call this department about that concern. So I would just really give them an A+ for really, you know, it seems like they really genuinely care about the community. They genuinely have relationships with constituents just like I do. And I think that that's excellent that we're working together. So just that whatever changes have been made or what have happened, because I've missed a lot, they are working great for me, and I like that they are in place, and I like their roles. And so, you know, whatever we can do to get them as well compensated and paid and valued for their service as possible in your department with what you need, I support.
Oh, thank you so much. That makes me so happy to hear.
Yes.
Thank you.
Henry Brown especially, Christian Saylor, Larry Isom, those are my 3, like, phenomenal.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Alderman Aldridge?
I guess I'll just continue on that train of just more importantly, just thank you, Director, and your supervisors and your team. NISs are incredible. Like Alderwoman Boyd said, they are in the trenches of the neighborhoods, and some real rough ones, but they get out there without having kind of any armor besides the armor of just helping people to get the results done. So thank you for leading such a great team, and thank all the NISs. Also, Patrick, or Mr. Brown, I got, who else I got? Deanna. She's gonna get me Ms. Murphy, Carla Brown, all the people in the 14th Ward are great, as well as Bernie Powley, who's the supervisor. I do have a quick question that I think about it. What's going on with the automatic system? I know that CSB is gonna have automatic. Is that in place yet?
Well, thank you first. Thank you so much. It means so much, so thank you. So 5.9, 5.9 is the new system. We're replacing In Contact for CSB, and that was supposedly is going to, I think the date is the 24th of May.
Okay.
So we are ready and super excited to see how it can help the residents connect with us faster.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I'll echo sentiments. I mean, the NIS staff, the neighborhood orientation, the shift there has been really helpful. One thing I'd like to share is I do think, you know, especially when I think about stabilization, you know, the long-term relationships that that your staff are developing with our communities is really important. I'd like to see some stability in those positions representing specific neighborhoods, just so that those long-term relationships and the trust that is built there can continue to grow.
Absolutely.
And I've been really impressed with some of the newer staff members. Kiana, in particular, has done a really great job. Larry's been a great addition as well. And so I think that folks are really, really, really in tune to what's going on and extremely very helpful. So we're grateful that you have what you need in your budget, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to better support your department.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And this closes out, I believe, our budget hearings for today, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You get a motion to adjourn?
I do.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, the Budget and Public Employees Committee is done for today.